Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. Today in this short video I am going to show you the logical inconsistency, academic dishonesty and cognitive dissonance of neo-Atharis like Muhammad Hijab, who on one hand use arguments of Islamic philosophers like Avicenna, Mullah Sadra, Sohrawardi, and so on, to argue that God is necessary in all respects and cannot be different in any possible way, and on the other hand, believe in concepts like Tanzil, which assert that God can literally descend on the heavens and God has literal hands. It is totally absurd to believe that God cannot change and be different in any way, and also believe that God can literally descend on the heavens and it is not a logical contradiction. What is even more preposterous is that Hanabila and Atharis, along with Ashaira and Maturidiya, have called philosophers kuffar, zanadika, and atheists for just saying that God cannot have internal plurality and God cannot change in any way. These neo-Atharis like Muhammad Hijab, on one hand, they use arguments of Islamic philosophers, even when they do not understand the logical implications of these arguments. And on the other hand, they do takfir of the philosophers and the followers of the philosophers for believing in the logical implications of the very arguments that these neo-Atharis are presenting, such as contingency argument. The thing is that we are not going to let these neo-Atharis use philosophy and falsafa for their own convenience and then call us kuffar in the same breath. So please watch these videos and feel free to share your thoughts about the difference between the Tawheed of Atharis and the Tawheed of Falasifa, and what view of God do you think is more coherent? A God that is the ground of all being, infinite in all respects, unchanging, ineffable, and supreme, the God of Falasifa, or a God who is composite, who changes, who has a little body, who sits on literal throne and descends literally to heavens whenever he desires. I think to any reasonable person, it would be absolutely clear that what God is more logically coherent and rationally justifiable. So please feel free to share your thoughts and tell us what conception of God do you personally believe in.
Is there, and God too is there, and God too has something which separates himself or herself or itself or whatever self from God one, then that differentiating factor indicates that, because we said necessary existence is something that cannot be any other way. But if God too has a hat on, P. Adamson makes this. P. Adamson makes this. He gives this example. I'm going to give him credit for it in his discussion of Avicenna. If God too has a hat on, that hat indicates this God too's he's got a mustache. I think he said, or whatever. This factor of God too indicates that it's contingent, because it can be another way. You can imagine it without a mustache or a hat or something. It's a ridiculous example, but any differentiating factor which make it possible for entity 2 or God 2 to be any other way makes it impossible for that thing that we're talking about to be necessary, because a necessary being is something that cannot be any other way.
Does not descend down literally, right?
No, that would be when you say literally, we have to be careful, right? Because what do we mean by it? But listen, the early people would say
it's a problem.
The early people would say we don't know how. We don't know how. The howness is unknown. Okay, so for example, when someone came to this, I think you should memorize this blueprint actually. Yeah, someone came to Imam Malik and he asked him, "Where is that? كيف استوى الله على العرش? How did Allah do استواء على العرش?" He said, الاستواء معلوم والكيفية مجهول والسؤال عنه بدعة والإيمان به واجب. That's basically it. It's that we don't know how. There are things about Allah subhanahu. We were talking about qadr last week. There are things where anything to do with the kayfiyah of the howness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we don't know. That's as simple as that. We don't know what that is. Someone could argue, well, if you take this view, the apparent view, then would that suggest that at every part of the globe because the earth is a globe, that Allah is descending somewhere, or it's like that. We say maybe Allahu Alam. Yeah, possibly. Why would that be excluded from the meaning?
It's a contradiction. I mean,
No, it's not
Allah is
contradiction.
timeless. Allah is
No,
timeless.
it's not
It cannot
contradiction.
change.
Brother, it's only